sisterly bonds, hey? They often evoke strong emotional responses from audiences. Think of The Parent Trap, Practical Magic, even The Huntsman, Winter's War. So what craft needs to be considered when creating engaging and authentic portrayals of sisters? Let's find out. And as always, I will mash some new sister characters to demonstrate. We want each sister to have distinct personality, voice, and traits. Audiences should be able to differentiate them based on their actions, their dialogue, and not just how they look, you know? Because sometimes sisters look so much alike. Like the protagonist twins, Annie James and Hallie Parker from The Parent Trap. Despite that they are identical, they have distinct personalities. Annie is sophisticated, composed, and more reserved, while Hallie is outgoing and a bit of a troublemaker. These differences are shown through their behaviours and interactions with each other. I mean, listen to how the dialogue reflects each sister's unique voice.
You want to know the real difference between us? I know how to fence and you don't. Or I have class and you don't. Why, I oughta...
Interestingly enough, these distinct differences in personality, traits, action, voice are the reasons they get caught out when they switch places.
Why Sammy never comes near you anymore. Or why your appetite's changed. Or why all of a sudden you're neat as a pin and using expressions like, you gave me a fright.
I had one sip too many, I guess.
Are you okay? Would you like me to go with you?
Oh, no, I'll be fine. Just got to touch Woozy, that's all.
Woozy, huh?
What about the protagonists from Practical Magic, Sally and Gillian Owens? Gillian is adventurous, free-spirited, and rebellious. She's often seeking excitement and romance. She creates her own lifestyle as a witch. Sally, on the other hand, is practical and cautious. She is more focused on stability and responsibility. She rejects the lifestyle of a witch.
And as for you two, my children will never do magic.
Gillian has some magic and uses it, but wishes she was more powerful.
All my life, I have wished I had even half your talent.
Sally, on the other hand, has great power but chooses not to use it. Until, that is...
White as light, mighty hectate make it right.
I'll go watch it. You know you want to. Anyway, these differences are reflected in their choices and motivations, don't you think? I mean, look at the costuming and how it elevates their distinct personalities. Sally dresses nothing like her aunts, who fully own their witchiness.
Get the bird.
Get the book.
Whereas Gillian has a more confident flair. Even the choice of red hair versus brunette hair helps tell them apart. And this detail seems entrenched in the Owens legacy, you know, connected to the story, and not just in there willy-nilly. And their dialogue often reflects the sisters' differing approaches to life too. Gillian's whimsical nature versus Sally's practicality.
Sometimes we just stay up all night worshipping each other like bats.
I want you both to watch what you say to those girls. I don't want you filling their heads with any of your nonsense, okay?
Side note, I love how this movie adds little visual details to show that they are still sisters. The braids, for example, demonstrate a likeness, a connection. So cool. Hot tip. Even if your sisters are the villains of the story, make sure to explore their distinct personalities. You never know what fuel it will bring to the story's conflict, like in The Huntsman, Winter's War. The conflict between the sisters is central, elevated by how different they are. Queen Ravenna is manipulative, power-hungry, and driven by her desire to maintain control. Her sister Freya, on the other hand, is initially shown as loving and nurturing, who later becomes hardened and bitter. Their distinct personalities are what drive their behaviors and motivations. But what truly underscores the differences between the sisters is the contrasting motifs. The imagery of ice versus fire, silver versus gold, symbolizes Freya's cold, vengeful transformation versus Ravenna's fiery ambition and betrayal. Think about your sisters. What makes them different from each other? In voice, in traits, in personality, in motifs. Let's smash. My sisters are Kaylin and Laurie. They are twins that exist in a fantasy realm. Kaylin is adventurous, bold, and a bit reckless, leaping to action without much thought. She is a skilled warrior, always seeking excitement and challenges. She embodies the daring spirit found in Gillian, with a strong desire for independence and freedom. But she also has a desire for power, like Ravenna, often seeking thrills in battle. Kaylin's voice and dialogue is enthusiastic and spirited, sometimes direct, sometimes impulsive. The other sister is Laurie, cautious, studious, deeply empathetic, and nurturing, like Freya, embodying the wisdom that comes with understanding the consequences of power. She also reflects Sally, as she seeks to create stability and protect those she loves. Laurie is a talented mage who prefers the safety of her books and spells to the unpredictability of the outside world. Always, she carefully plans her spells and strategies, often hesitating to take risks, unlike her twin. Laurie's voice and dialogue is soft and measured. She tends to think before she speaks, always considering the implication of her words, unlike her twin. What's another craft to consider when creating engaging and authentic sisters? Audiences often respond positively to stories about sisters for many reasons. One of these reasons is that the dynamics mirror real-life sibling relationships, allowing audiences to see their own experiences reflected in the story. So, some questions to think about. Are the sisters supportive, competitive, loving, or is their relationship strained or even estranged? How does the sisters' dynamic influence their moments of conflict? How does it influence their deep bond or even their mutual influence? The most engaging movies about sisters capture the genuine range of emotions they might feel towards each other: jealousy, admiration, frustration, and love. In The Parent Trap, the movie explores an evolving dynamic between Annie and Hallie. First, they become rivals. But they discover who they are to each other, and this rivalry shifts to cooperation. They will swap places.
Sooner or later, they'll have to unswitch us. And when they do, they'll have to meet again, face to face.
Their plotting to reunite their parents reflects their deepening sisterly dynamic. And finally, their dynamic shifts to deep affection, culminating in a fulfilling reunion, not just for their parents, but also for their newfound sisterly relationship. One of the most interesting moments of conflict between the sisters is when Annie asks Hallie for help with their father soon after the swap. But Hallie refuses.
Annie, I can't. I want more time with Mom.
This is a great example of showing audiences where their current dynamic is at.
Thanks for the help, Hal.
What I think the movie does best, though, is capturing the genuine emotions that come with discovering a sibling and dealing with separation. What about the Owen sisters? Initially, Gillian's carefree attitude clashes with Sally's desire for a stable, normal life, and Gillian ends up fleeing the aunt's house, leaving Sally behind. Their dynamic is now one of long distance.
Dearest Jilly, sometimes I feel there is a hole inside of me.
However, they come to rely on each other during moments of crisis, such as dealing with the aftermath of their family's curse. Gillian returns for Sally, inspiring Sally to not let her grief consume her.
And you brush your goddamn teeth because your breath stinks. And you take care of those little girls.
Sally returns the favour in another moment of crisis, rescuing Gillian from her abusive boyfriend. Ew. As the story progresses, their bond is challenged, crashing to some serious lows, but ultimately strengthened.
We're supposed to die together, remember? At the same time, you promised me that, and this is not that day.
So the movie explores their dynamic through both conflict and support, capturing such genuine moments of love, frustration, and reconciliation, but also the more specific, I guess you could call it irritation of having a sister. By the end, though, they achieve a deeper understanding of themselves and each other. Aww. What about the villain sisters?
Do not forget what you owe me. I made you what you are.
The evolution of their dynamic is marked by highs and lows. Initially, Ravenna and Freya are close, showing warmth, love, and protection towards each other.
I suppose you are my weakness.
But their relationship deteriorates. Firstly, because of Ravenna's desire to take control. She wants to use Freya's army to take back her kingdom.
Did you say something?
This is my kingdom.
Their dynamic deteriorates further when, spoiler alert, Freya discovers Ravenna's betrayal. Ravenna is responsible for Freya's suffering. It's so heartbreaking to watch Freya come to a deeper understanding of her sister. These emotions of betrayal and heartbreak are portrayed through intense scenes and character interactions, making their conflict feel genuine and impactful. It belongs in this fantasy setting, you know? It is deeply satisfying and emotionally rewarding to watch the sisters' dynamic shift from a loving bond to conflict to a resolution that reflects their emotional growth. For Freya especially, she accepts the consequences of her actions and offers a helping hand to the protagonists to defeat Ravenna. What about your sisters? What are the pivotal moments that change how they relate to each other? And how do they grow personally and as sisters throughout the course of the story? Let me know in the comments below. Let's mash again. Initially, Kaylin and Laurie share a deep bond, but their differing approaches to life create tension. Kaylin feels stifled by Laurie's caution, while Laurie is frustrated with Kaylin's recklessness. I want this dynamic to be similar to the rivalry between Annie and Hallie. The story kicks off with a magical mishap during a family spell, which causes the twins to swap places. Kaylin is thrust into Laurie's world of study and responsibilities, while Laurie finds herself in the middle of Kaylin's adventurous escapades. I want their initial struggles to mirror the confusion and hilarity of Annie and Hallie navigating each other's lives.
Push, Hal.
Sorry, I forgot.
So, as they navigate their swapped lives, both sisters face challenges that forces them to understand each other better. Kaylin learns the value of strategy and patience. Meanwhile, Laurie discovers the thrill of adventure and the importance of embracing risk. I want their growth to reflect the emotional journey of the sisters in The Parent Trap, ultimately leading to mutual respect and deeper understanding. What's another craft to consider when creating engaging and authentic sisters? Stories about sisters can evoke a sense of nostalgia for audiences, prompting them to reflect on their own childhood experiences and family relationships. So use this to your advantage. Think about common experiences, childhood memories, family traditions, or life events that have impacted both sisters in your story. This sentimental connection can make your story more impactful and memorable for your audience. At the same time, think about the sisters' individual backstories. What are their personal goals, struggles, and growth? And how do their own paths affect the story? For example, Annie and Hallie do share a common background. They are both children of divorced parents. This shared history is central to the plot, as it drives their motivation to reunite their parents. The locket that the twins share and the torn photograph of their parents symbolizes their shared history.
That's my dad. That's my mom.
The specific detail that they both liked Oreos dipped in peanut butter is delightful. Yuck. No thank you. Not for me.
Most people find that totally disgusting. I know, I don't get it. Me either.
Despite their shared parentage, however, their separate upbringings in different environments, Annie in London and Hallie in Napa Valley, contribute to their distinct personalities and perspectives. Their solo history truly shines through when they meet the other parent. Hallie grew up without a mother, so of course we need moments like this.
Here comes the sun, and I said, it's alright.
And Annie grew up without a father, so of course we need moments like this.
I was never able to say the word dad. Never. Not once. Just imagine someone's life without a father. Never being able to say, hi, Dad, or what's up, Dad, or catch you later, Dad.
Let me see if I get this. You miss being able to call me Dad?
I really have, Dad.
What is really satisfying though is watching how the sophisticated and more reserved Annie must try to thwart her father's relationship with Meredith Blake.
Hi, Meredith Blake.
Her experience of growing up with a mother prepares her, to some extent, for Meredith.
I am marrying your father in 2 weeks, whether you like it or not. So I suggest you do not tangle with me anymore. Is that clear?
Crystal.
So that's what I mean when I say that their individual experiences shape their actions and decisions throughout the story. Sally and Gillian share a magical heritage and a childhood marked by their family's tragic history, including the death of their parents and the presence of a family curse. Their upbringing in a magical household with strong family traditions and expectations shapes their identities and their relationships, and also how the community treats them. Despite their shared background, their solo histories begin to diverge before our very eyes.
I hope I never fall in love. I hope I never fall in love. I can't wait to fall in love.
Gillian's journey involves breaking free from the small town she grew up in and seeking her own path, experiencing lust more than love, while Sally's history revolves around her desire for a normal life. She casts a spell in hopes that she will never fall in love, in order to avoid the family curse. Fair. So their solo histories highlight their different responses to their shared history, don't you think? The shared history between Ravenna and Freya, including their royal status, sets the stage for their initial bond. Their past together as sisters is marred by conquest of kingdoms and the legacy about the women in their family. As for their solo histories, things become a little more muddy, especially if you take into account what we learn about Ravenna in Snow White and the Huntsman. There is no mention of Freya in this movie, only her brother, Finn.
You swore that you would protect me! You swore!
There is no mention of the family legacy, only a potion made by Ravenna's mother to make her beauty her power. These inconsistencies can sometimes happen in sequels, particularly if you don't know that there's going to be a sequel when you write the first one. But I digress. Side note, everything that we're exploring can be applied to any sibling dynamic, just like Ravenna and Finn in the first movie. Keep that in mind if you're not writing sisters. Anyway, back to their solo histories. In Snow White and the Huntsman, it's implied that Ravenna's mother was taken by a king, and that she herself was abused by a king. Ew. She distrusts men and wishes to avenge her mother. So when we come to the Huntsman Winter's War, we are told that Ravenna has already unlocked her power. Freya, however, has not.
All the women of our blood are gifted, Freya. And in time, you will find the source of your power. We'll see.
Also in this movie, Ravenna desires power, which is a strong extension of what we've learnt about her in the first movie. So well done, writers.
Love doesn't save your life. I should know. I've been dead before.
As for the other sister, Freya believes love makes you strong. Until, that is, the loss of Freya's child, which leads to Freya's unlocking of her power and her transformation into the Ice Queen. Now, vengeful, she wishes to conquer kingdoms of her own.
Because in my kingdom there is but one law. Do not love.
As you can see, each sister's shared and solo histories influences their actions and motivations. What about your sisters? What history do they share? What history is unique? And how do these influence their emotional states and interactions? Let's mash again! For their shared history, Kaylin and Laurie were raised by their grandmother, a powerful sorceress who taught the twins to harness their powers. This common ground creates a strong foundation for their bond, akin to the shared history of Sally and Gillian. As for their solo histories, Kaylin developed a thirst for exploration. She would sneak away from her trainings to face off against different mythical beasts. But she returns from one of these adventures to find her grandmother by dark magic. Kaylin becomes determined to gain power and seek revenge on those responsible. I want this to echo Ravenna's desire for control. Laurie, however, was often overshadowed by Kaylin's adventurous spirit, leading her to focus on her studies to gain recognition and respect. She was there when her grandmother was... And to process this grief, she found solace in her books and magic. She had no wish to find those responsible, unlike her twin. Instead, Laurie feared the very power that Kaylin craved, mirroring Freya's initial hesitance about her own abilities, until she faces personal loss that transforms her perspective. Until the next mash. Bye-bye. Teapot. Ah! Ooh, my goodness. A powerful sorceress. Just spat. Let's try again. And how do their own paths affect the story? What is this? I don't know.